Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to an all brand new episode, very first episode of the Rigour Vigor podcast. And today I have a very special guest with me. Today I have an interesting man, and this man is Isaac Abasta. Thank you for being here, brother. Thank you for taking the time and sharing, your story here with me.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome, thank you. And I wanted Isaac on because Isaac's a very interesting man in the sense that when I met Isaac, he started telling me about his occupation and what he does for work, and it just baffled me how such a awesome person can have that occupation and be able to separate those two and still be a normal person to society, right? Now, but before we get to that, where were you born and where do you come from? How was your upbringing?
Yeah, I was born in Yuma, Arizona. I grew up with most of my mom. I mean, my parents split at a young age and stuff like that. I saw my dad as much as I can, but kind of felt weird that my father felt like he left me and stuff. So I had kind of had a hard time growing up like that. I mean, I ended up having a stepfather. Bless his soul for stepping in my life and being as much as he can. But I mean, I always felt weird having another person step out of your life, such as a father. So it kind of grew up different.
Right. How was he as a stepdad? Was he a good stepdad? Did he do his job?
Yeah, I think he did his job well.
Yeah.
He provided as much as he can and stuff like that. Took care of my mom, which is the most I can ask for and stuff like that. I respect my mom because I think as a kid you feel like you're worried about new people in your life, especially after someone left. So you're kind of what's your intentions and stuff like that. Even at a young age, you're not gonna do much, but you have
you're
that.
defensive, bro.
Yeah, you're defensive.
That's your property. That's what that's your mom.
Yeah,
right? That's the most beautiful thing that you were given, and I think you're trying to just protect, and you're trying to just be that protector in you, right? Your occupation, if you want to explain to the people what you do for a living, right? I think it's a pretty cool job, if you ask me.
My official title is a crime scene technician, so I basically go to crime scenes such as homicides, suicides, murders, drive-by shootings in general, anything like that, even small calls like vehicle burglaries, even domestics we go to. And basically we document the scene with photographs, notes, collect any evidence we need to, and anything else we need to process the scene further with.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And then what tools do you use for the crime scenes, or is everything pretty much in the vehicle that you guys take, or do you guys carry on any primary tools that you need first and foremost? As soon as you get there, that's what you use? Do you have any of that you may use?
Usually what we carry, we have our own belt and stuff, so usually we have a radio we use, because we got a radio with dispatch and radio any people that I talk to. We have a flashlight to always have. We even have the option to carry pepper spray, but I don't carry pepper spray.
Why?
I don't know. I always say people want to fight. I got these hands, so honestly, I'm not gonna lie.
So it's for protection?
Yeah, it's for protection. Pepper spray for
damn.
just in case you're left by yourself. But I don't use it because I don't know. People want to get down. People want to get down. People get down.
Get nitty-gritty.
Yeah, I hope that never happens. But
damn, that's crazy. I didn't know you guys carried weapons like that.
Yeah, we carry pepper spray just because there may be instances where we even have a bulletproof vest we carry.
Oh.
Yeah, we carry bulletproof vests with us and stuff like that in our vehicles, and along with our camera crate, latent processing kit, we can process fingerprints and stuff like that, and even a to-go bag where we have hats and what's it called, even a construction vest and stuff when we're out on crime scenes
at night. And
stuff.
stuff.
Accidents in the road so people don't hit us. So we have those yellow or green vests.
Damn, that's pretty cool. Now, do you how are you able to, on a daily basis, about I would say in a week, how many dead people do you see? In a week, an estimated amount.
It kind of varies, but estimated amount, people, you could see a lot. Usually we could see maybe, it's not even a lot, but maybe 3 or 4 maybe.
Bro, that's a lot.
I don't know, man. Usually,
I'm telling you, bro, for you to see dead people 3 times a week, even once a week, that's crazy.
Yeah, it kind of varies. I've seen 2 back to back. You can go from dead person to dead person, or you can have. I've had a suicide on a Saturday and a suicide on a Sunday, and then even something like a suicide on a Monday. So you can go back to back, or you can go maybe a couple weeks without seeing one.
Damn.
So usually the pick vary from flow.
That's
flows,
crazy. Now, what's when you first started? What's that very first? Run me through that very first crime scene or homicide that you went through. Right? How was what was your mentality coming in to that your first crime scene, and what was your mentality after the fact? After you had completed your task and gone home and really let it sink in. Run me through that first crime scene that you did, your first job.
My first crime scene?
Yeah.
My first crime scene, I don't think it was anything crazy. Honestly, it was probably just like, it was like an accident, really. That's really what my first crime scene was. But I think my first really big one that I took, I think it was believed, from what I remember, was a suicide. And I've never seen anybody commit suicide like that, because I believe it was with a gun. So I'm all new to this. I'm trying to learn the process. So I feel like as a new person, you're trying to learn the steps, because you're like making sure you don't mess up and stuff like that. So, but I think it was difficult seeing something traumatic, because I think people wonder why you're doing it. Like, why did that person take their life? Like, why do you you don't want to get into that thinking mode, but you do, and you're trying to pull yourself out of it. You're trying to be different.
You can't help yourself but think, like, man, what was he thinking? What did he say? What was his last thoughts?
Yeah, you're wondering those things, but it's hard not to drive your personal life into it, because you maybe get too connected with that kind of stuff.
Mostly when you see maybe a young kid die.
Yeah.
Or, not see them die, but there's been times where you've seen footage of people, right?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, that's crazy. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and see, that's what's very interesting about you, bro, how every day you wake up knowing that there's a possibility that you might see a horrific homicide, crime scene that you may have to investigate and pretty much unravel, right? And unravel the truth and how this happened, right? Which I think is insane. And personally, me, I wouldn't be able to do a job like that, right? Like I say all the time, I think I'm capable of doing a lot of things, but that, I don't think I'm capable of doing just that, bro. Like, that to me is very interesting. That's why you're here on the podcast. And it's weird to me how we as humans, we each have our own, like, ways of tackling things. For example, when I prepare to play a game, when I prepare to to go to spar in boxing, like, I'm nervous and I'm tense, but it's almost like I have to do this, like this, I'm just gonna test myself. Do you find yourself telling yourself that every day, like when you go to work, like, okay, today might test me and I'm ready for it? Is that a strategy you take?
That's for sure something I do, especially when it gets like the bigger scenes and when things get complicated. If it's raining, windy, you're trying to always think of how to maybe be better. Because I take the mindset of always being better than I was last time. How can I do something better? Right. And you get that like adrenaline sometimes. People describe it in that moment. You're just pushing through, like as you're doing the scene for us. Like our mind is 100%. We're always going 100, but after we take like this like drag, like we're like oof. So we're like, oh.
I think it's your adrenaline dump.
Yeah.
When you're, boom, you come back to reality. You're done, and you're like, oof. Damn.
Yeah,
like, that was crazy.
That was crazy. So, but it's kind of weird because personally, I don't know why, but I kind of live off that adrenaline. I like that adrenaline to get. I don't know why, but I do. I love to.
You're an adrenaline junkie.
Yeah, when it comes to stuff like that, I love to push myself. I love to see what I can do. I love to be different, be uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, see, and that's what that's something important that the people you guys listening, you guys understand that sometimes you must put yourself through uncomfortable situations in order to be better. Yeah. Right? Like there's times now where I'll find myself putting obstacles in front of me, and setting these own self-inflicted obstacles within my life, within my daily life, so that I can be better, so that I'm familiar with these obstacles, and when a real one comes, I'm cool as a bird, and there's nothing that's gonna stop me from achieving what my goal is, right? And real quick story, bro, and this is what trips me out. I used to go to California for 3 months during the summer, and I would go see my family. And my cousin plays soccer as well, and he played in a league in which you had to be 30 years old and older. So as older cats, I couldn't play. They put me down as a coach because this is in Sun Valley, California, in San Fernando, California, and it's a gated field. and the owner's there making sure that you're on the roster or you're a coach. So they let me in. I was listed as a coach, and I'm sitting there, bro. Mind you, it's like 105 degrees, 108, super hot. On turf, that doubles. So it's like 115, 100, close to 120. So it's super hot. And I'm sitting there, bro, and, they're playing, and I spot this African-American guy. He's like 6'1", 6'2", and, he's having fun. He's laughing. He's complaining to the ref. Normal things that you do in the field. Yeah. And the ball, the players, everyone's on one side, and he's kind of outcasted here on the other side of the field, and out of nowhere he starts making all these weird mannerisms. He starts looking at the sky, and his lips start getting super dry, bro, and he just falls. And me and my cousin were the first ones to actually react and go help him. Everyone else was tripped out, damn, what the,
that's crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's crazy. See,
he fell. And my cousin's reaction was, hey, put your hands in his mouth, put him sideways, try to open his mouth while I blow air in his mouth, but we can't let him swallow his tongue.
Yeah.
Right? And that's when for the first time where I felt a human jaw actually bite down with full force. And so I'm trying to help him. I'm trying to open his mouth. He's closing his mouth, and he actually have cuts here still from his bite marks. And long story short, we weren't able to do anything. We're not professionals.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know what to do. I'm getting told by my cousin what I should do, which he's half a dummy like me. We don't know what we're doing, and he dies, bro. There's no more. There's no heartbeat. There's no pulse. Nothing. Cops come, everything, they get our side of the story. And after that, bro, when we went home, I was like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
Right?
That's crazy.
And after 3 years, this was 5 years ago. This is after my dad had passed away. So I had already gone through one death. Then this is, another death I witnessed, and I had my hands on this person while he was dying.
Yeah.
And 3 years after that, bro, when I got counseling, I had to bring that up in my counseling because it was something that was still really bothering me. Yeah. So for you to see this on a daily basis, to me, trips me out, bro.
Yeah.
Do you guys have counseling that you guys are offered within the police department? How does that work so that you guys can be psychologically well? And if you do need that help, you can go to this person and get the help. Do you guys have that there?
Yeah, we always have a counseling going on and stuff, especially for any major scenes we have going on, any baby deaths or stuff like that, or anything super traumatic. There's always a mandatory briefing after, a couple of days before, and they'll explain everything of what happened, so everyone gets a closure.
Right.
Because some people carry it with them. Because when we go to scenes, we always sometimes don't know how it ends.
Oh my god!
So then our mind wants to know how it ends. How did this person, everything go on? So we get that closure, and they always offer therapy for completely free, all therapy, and we can talk about it, no judgment. They don't tell anybody. It's always anonymous and stuff like that. So it's really good to have because sometimes you just need to talk to people and say something too, because it's hard to carry in. It can be heavy on you.
Absolutely. Damn, that's crazy. And have you ever used the therapy?
No, I've never used it personally because I don't know why, but I've never really been bothered by what I see. I don't know if that's just a me thing or that's a lot, but personally, I've never really taken anything home.
Right. No, yeah, I think you're built different. I think people in that occupation, in that environment, in those situations, and I would say harsh situations, I think you guys are built for that. I think that's what you guys are meant there to, you guys are meant to be there, bro. Yeah. Because if not, like I said, bro, I can't do it. Yeah. There's just no fucking way I can do that, right? And like I said, I'm this tough guy. No, absolutely not. You guys are the tough guys, and I think you guys deserve the utmost respect. And, I think it's important that the people know what happens, right? It's not just, pick up, let's go, boom, that's it. Discard of the body, and that's it. No, it's a process. Yeah, there's times where you have to be in a room with a dead person for how long?
It could be 5 hours. You could be there for hours.
That's what I'm saying,
hours
bro.
And,
sometimes you're with the body that's been out in the exposed in the heat for so long, the smells, everything. How long was the nastiest smell you smelled? How long did that last in this area of your face? Like, because I tell you that, bro, because I used to work in California with my cousins when I would go for the summer.
Yeah.
And we changed the carpet in an apartment complex where this lady had died, and she had a bunch of like cats, and they would pee there, and the lady had died actually in that apartment.
Yeah.
So it smelled bad, and we needed to get rid of the carpet that they had taken off.
Yeah.
After the investigation and all that, and that smell stayed in this area for like a week.
Yeah.
So that's a trip, and I know, and we had masks, bro.
Yeah.
Like we had masks, but it still penetrated.
Oh
through
yeah,
that
I go
thing.
through.
So
yeah.
how long usually do you last with certain smells that you can't unsmell for like a while?
I would say I don't know, longest maybe like 5 to 6 days.
How do you eat?
It's hard. It's hard because you get in your clothes, so you try to eat. So if you like, say you go and then a couple hours try to eat in the same clothes, you could smell it as you're eating. So it makes you just not. You're like, I don't. To me, I'm like, I don't want to eat because I can't smell that eat in the same time. It just is nasty.
Crazy.
Yeah. So it can like stink your clothes up and stuff. So I keep a pair of clothes at work just to change out of and shower if I need to, because sometimes you can be in some nasty situations and people can be like decomposing, and sometimes you can step on it accidentally and stuff like that. So it could be
like
to your
skin.
clothes. Yeah. So you want to be worried about all that kind of stuff. So it gets nasty.
That's crazy. Now, real quick, run me through a crazy crime scene that you've seen.
Okay, yeah, one I had was probably early in the morning, maybe around 7 or 8. I think it's right when I came into work around 5:30. A couple hours later, a call kicks out. Basically, like a father commits suicide by using a bolt-action rifle under his chin, and he pulls the trigger. But I've never seen something like it because he kind of blew his head off, and only his like neck was attached, kind of. Maybe his like chin area still too, but everything else was completely gone. It was like crazy to see because you walk in and I don't know what I'm expecting, but I've never seen it before. So you see just brain matter and like skull pieces everywhere. Like we literally had to, on the floor, we're like trying to move things. I'm not trying to step on this guy because I'm not trying to step on his skull and like make sure I get photos of it all. But you can see like his brain skin on the side of the wall and his brain like up here and stuff like that. And
oh my God.
it's like everywhere. It covered the whole room up, the whole master bedroom. It went through the bathroom and went everywhere.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And then you were also telling me a story about this kid who a car fell on his head. Can you run us through that story real quick?
Yeah. So basically, from what I understand, it was like a Sunday, I think maybe, and a kid was working on his car, just like a normal one person would, and he was doing his brakes, I believe, and he had the car in his jack up in his driveway, and the car was jacked up, and he was under the car trying to get something, and at that exact moment, the jack gives up, and the jack collapses and breaks and moves, and the whole car falls on him, and part of the corner of the car falls right on top of his forehead and drops right there.
Damn.
So from what I understand, he was alive at that moment, but he ends up sadly dying on the way to the hospital when they try to get treatment to him.
So when you guys get there, are you the ones lifting the jack up, pulling his body out?
No, his family actually did that when they were trying to save him.
Oh, so the family was in the house.
The family was his whole family was in the house. His mom, everybody was in there, and they heard, I think, something just a loud bang outside and went to go check, and they found him. And they're the ones that went over to jack the car back up, and then they're the ones that pulled him out when trying to save him. And they called us at the same time, and we tried to give as much treatment as we can, but sadly he passed away after took him to the hospital.
Imagine that scene, bro. Imagine being the family that like has to go out. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was super sad, and it was tough because I mean it's crazy those freak accidents because you're just working on everyday life, and in a split second it's over.
Yeah, that guy was just out there enjoying his car. But he was a cool dude, and just.
Yeah.
Things happen.
Things happen.
You didn't
freak
make sure
accident.
his freak accident.
Yeah.
Now, when things like that happen, the family's there, they're crying. Who keeps them calm? It's not you guys, right? Because you guys have to get there and do your job.
Yeah.
There's really can't be any interruptions, right? So who keeps the family sane? Who keeps them like backed off a little bit? Is it the police?
Police, I think they try to do as much as they can, but we actually have these people called care units, and we call them out for any traumatic events, and they're like specializedly trained to help people go through traumatic events.
Oh, okay.
And to give them like any options of therapy and stuff like that, and kind of talk them through what's going to happen and anything like that. Even if, say their son didn't die and something traumatic happened, they're still there for any really traumatic events because it can affect people a lot differently, especially a big family like that. So they come out and they kind of do that with the family and talk to them and kind of take them to inside the house or away from the scene because they can't really get their attention if they're going to be looking at this at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So they take them and then they deal with them and they leave us to do what we can't do over here.
Right. That's crazy. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
See, bro, like that's just insane.
Yeah, they're good. I think there's a lot more to a crime scene than maybe people that do not know.
Absolutely, bro. And that's why like I said, before I even met you, I didn't really know much about what went on.
Yeah.
Right? Until you explained to me there's actual people putting their own mental health on the line to get results and to do a job. And you go, you do your job, and you're done.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's move on to the next. How do you separate your occupation, your job, what you do on a daily basis, to your job as a fiance, to Frank and taking care of kids and your family? How do you separate those two things?
I think it really depends on the person. I always think it's a good thing to have outlets. Always have something that can release that. Like me, I go to the gym. I think it's a good outlet to release that emotion and something like that, or whatever you feel. Some people are a lot different. People like to read. People like to run. People like to box. People like to do anything, and that's an outlet for them. To me, I don't know what I do, but once I get on scene, I emotionally just disconnect. I do not try to have that connection whatsoever.
Game mode, baby.
Yeah, I try to go into the zone. It can be hard, though, because sometimes you go to scenes and they have things that are personal. You're like, oh, I have that item. I know what that is. I've seen that before, or my brother has that. Like, you see those things, but you have to, like, try to cut that off because that's what can connect you, and you may not come back. You're, like, totally lost in there. So that's why I try to have outlets. I try to keep my mind just on the job.
Stay busy.
Yeah, keep my mind on the job, do what I need to do, focus on that, and then when I'm done, I try to get out because I'm not trying to stay there and soak into that because it can be hard.
That's savage. That's like that. Get to work, do it, accomplish every goal you have for that day as far as work-wise, and then when you're done, boom.
Yeah.
You come back down. You're this cool, loving person. And that's cool, bro. That's what I want a lot of the listeners to understand, that you must learn how to separate things. You must understand that you can't go home with the negative things that happen in your daily life, right? Like maybe someone flicks you off on the side of the road and it pisses you off, and you go home and then you unleash that to your siblings, to your mom, your dad, and it's not okay, right? It's just chaos that you don't need.
Yeah.
And it's very important that you mentioned the outlet thing, right? Like, outlets are very important, right? But if you stay in your room and you sit there in the dark and you're all, scared and, like, that's going to just take you right back down, right? You need to find outlets. You need to stay busy, keep your mind occupied. Understand that learning how to separate things you're not born with it, but as you go, you must understand that you need to do just that in order to live a peaceful and loving life. So I commend you, and I am more than positive you're a great fiance to Frank, and that's really cool for me to see. I learn from you, right? With this podcast, I can learn different skills that I maybe can use in my daily life. So I thank you for that, and my utmost respect to every crime scene tech out there. You guys are doing the Lord's work, and it's not an easy task, and know that these trained professionals also need therapy, also can get counseling at any given time. This guy's just a savage, but for those that sometimes, I'm sure when he feels like he needs it, he's gonna go receive it.
Yeah.
Right. So for you guys listening, don't be timid, don't be scared. Go out there, seek the help. And find your way out of whatever you're going through, because it's possible. You are going to get through it, and you will get through it. It's just a matter of you making that decision of going to speak to somebody, a professional, someone confidential who's not going to give out your information, and and cry and laugh and maybe go back into that fire that causes pain, so that you can feel it again, and then be like, I can't feel it no more. It's not something I like feeling. I don't like feeling this pain. So you must sometimes go back in the fire and feel it a little bit, right, to remind you. So what advice do you have for the people as far as counseling, trauma, what advice do you have for the viewers maybe listening?
Yeah, I would say do not be scared of therapy or talking to actually anybody you feel comfortable with, friends, family, anybody like that. I don't think people should look at therapy as being weak or anything like that. I think it takes a strong person to go through therapy, a strong person to go through your emotions, because it's not easy. It's very difficult to do. And I believe if people don't do it maybe at the time or in a time frame, I think it could have lasting effects throughout their life. Maybe when they're older, dealing with kids and their own parents, stuff like that, people may rash out and lash out and stuff like that. So I think it's important to take care of what you need to at the moment. And if you can't afford therapy, it could be expensive. It's always talk to a trusted friend, talk to anybody like that. And I think it's always important to make sure you take care of your mental health just as much as your physical health.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's super, super important. And is it a competitive work field where what you do? Is there people constantly wanting to work, as a crime scene tech, or how does that play out?
I think there's a lot of people who are interested in the job and they may not know what it entails, but we do get a lot of people who are super interested and want to do what we do. I would say it's a specialized field though, so it can get competitive because the positions don't open up often, things don't happen, opportunities don't happen, people last in these careers and stuff like that, so it's hard to get a job in that field. But we always have tons of people applying and they want to know what we do for a living. So I think it'd be pretty competitive when it'd be a specialized field in such a small community who does the job.
Right. Yeah. That's cool, man. Well, I hope you guys learned something from this podcast. If you guys are thinking of being a crime scene tech, this is what you will get, and make sure that you're a strong-minded person and know that you must separate. Like I said, I think that's the most important thing that I can stress about you. I can stress this to you guys about is separation and being able to cope with things differently. We all cope with things in different, various ways. Find your outlet. Find, any counseling that you may want, and run with it. It's gonna be the best decision you've ever made. And I hope you guys learned from this podcast. I want to thank Isaac for taking his time on being on the podcast, because I think it's pretty cool to hear what you do, bro. Like I said, it really interested me, and that's why you're on here. And I'm sure the listeners can learn from you as well. And we're all tough until we're put in a situation in which it makes you shake a little bit. But what we do during those times is what makes us as a person. And that's it. That's pretty much all we have for today. Thank you for listening to the very first episode of the Vigor podcast. Your host today, myself, Luis Olandez, and the great, the savage, the sicko. I'm just playing. The savage, the great, awesome Isaac Abasta. Thank you for being here, brother. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate having me.